ago, but I'm just kind of getting back into the saddle right now.
Sure. I walk all over this side of town, and of course it with the bad weather, there was a while I hadn't been through there, and all of a sudden, boom, they were all gone.
Yeah, we had a few places like that, and we're going to address them here coming up as the weather's getting nicer.
We're getting there. I see some flowers starting to come up.
Yeah. We'll see the first of the bulbs, the daffodils, and the field come along. So we're about to see spring crack.
Yeah, it's going to be very welcome this year.
Yeah.
Eric,
Yes.
do you see any hope in the future of getting back to brown deer?
We're still kind of looking at all options. I think we're trying to find more of a permanent location so we don't have to move locations throughout the year. And brown deer is a great site, but they want to keep their Thursdays free during spring, summer, and fall for their golf tournaments.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of the only obstacle there.
Okay. I just wondered if there's any chance of getting back to a regular meeting sometime.
So yeah, I think we're looking at all options. Obviously, as we get more COVIDs in the arms, looking at opportunities for kind of a hybrid. And I think when we do get back in person, we'll still offer it virtually through Zoom too. So you can either come in person, or you can, maybe it's a bad weather day or what have you. You could, log in from your home or your office and watch it as well too.
Oh, okay. Neat.
So yeah, trying to
All right.
offer both options in the future.
All right. Oh, that sounds good. Glad we're looking at it.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, I miss those days.
We'll go ahead and get started here in about 3 minutes. If everyone could just take a second, if you haven't already, and sign in the chat button so we can record your attendance.
Women restaurant owners serving up solutions to the challenges boiling over in the COVID-19 crisis.
Just a quick reminder to mute your microphone if you are able to do so.
Engagement party actually fun.
We're excited to have Eric Johnson with us today. Eric is going to be our speaker today, so welcome, Eric.
Hello.
That's Tony. Okay.
I've got the camera off.
Morning, Bernie.
Hey, good morning, Eric. Good to see you.
Yep, nice to see you too.
In your discussion on locations, any thoughts for the going back to the Highlander?
That is one that they've approached us with interest, and we've toured there. We're considering them as well as some other options as well.
Okay.
Yep, I know they have I think they put over $1 million into the property, and it looks night and day from what it looked like before. It's looking really nice now.
I think it might be 5 million.
So, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good.
Yep.
Yeah, they've added a lot, and they have new ownership.
Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? I want to welcome everyone to Iowa City Noon Rotary. We're excited you can join us today. A lot of people are probably looking around and saying, where in the world is President Barb Thomas? Barb had another conflicting meeting today, so she's unable to join us, and I'll be filling in. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Eric Weiler. I'm the Rotary President-elect, so I'll be officially leading the club come July 1st. And we like to start each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you joined us last week, instead of seeing all the different screens and everyone kind of standing up at the same time, Kelly's going to help us. We have a nice flag to put up. There we go. So we ask everyone if you can please unmute yourself. And if you're comfortable standing, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Of the
United
States of America.
and to the republic
for
which it stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. We love to start each meeting with Zoom tips. We've all been on Zoom the last year, but there's still some tricks of the trade that are helpful to know and some reminders. So I'd like to turn it over to Kelly to provide us with some Zoom tips for today.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. Just as a quick reminder to please mute your microphone, especially during the speaking engagements and our presenters. It just mitigates the background noise. Also, if you go down and you have questions either during or after the presentation, or also if you have a guest or a visiting Rotarian that you would like to introduce, please go to the participants tab and raise your hand. You also can utilize the reactions button on the bottom right. That gives you an opportunity to clap hands or share your thoughts and feelings via Zoom. And then other than that, I think that's all that we have right now, except really quick, you may have it on gallery view right now. I would suggest you going up into the top right-hand corner and switching it to speaker view, especially when we have the presentation going. Thanks so much. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you so much, Kelly. So this is a great opportunity to learn to use our Zoom skills. So if you are either a visiting Rotarian or you're a guest, if you could go to the participant section and click raise hand, and then Kelly will call on you to unmute yourself and introduce yourself. So please, yeah, click raise hand if you're a guest or visiting Rotarian.
All right, I will go ahead and start. Nancy Quellhorst asked me to host Brent Cartsenson. So Brent, I'm gonna go ahead and have you unmute your microphone and say hello.
Hi, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be back visiting with the club again this week. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. All right, Jesus Garcia, looks like you have a guest.
I am the guest, Kelly. My name is Jesus. I live in Iowa City, Iowa, and I'm happy to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Welcome. And Brianna Hoffman, it looks like you have a guest.
I am a guest and I have a guest. I'm actually from the Iowa City Downtown Club, and I've been arranging to have Iowa City Climate Lobby speakers come to the Rotary Clubs. And so I will be introducing Eric Johnson, who is our speaker for today.
Excellent. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And anyone else? Those are the only two hands I see. So I think with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Eric.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Colleen Brown had asked me to watch out for a few people. I don't know if Roni Roseman is on the call. If you are, if you could unmute yourself. Or Ann Alms by chance. Maybe they weren't able to make it today, but we want to extend a warm welcome to all our visiting Rotarians and guests. Please feel free to join us anytime. We meet every Thursday at noon. Before we get to announcements, I wanted to share some news that we just got. Rotarian Dick McKean, who many of you know, he's been in the University Hospital, and unfortunately they removed all support yesterday, and he is in comfort care now. And looking back in our records, Dick McKean joined our Rotary Club back in 1994, and I know he has a lot of friendships within Rotary. So please keep Dick McKean and his family in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time for the family. So if you do have announcements, we ask that you raise hand. And I know Ryan Bell, you wanted to talk about the networking opportunity we have with the Iowa City Area Business Partnership. So I'll turn it over to Ryan real quick.
Yes, thanks, incoming President Eric. Again, this is just a reminder that next Wednesday at 4 p.m., there is an opportunity to leverage our business partnership membership and meet a whole bunch of new people. It's called Speed Networking, and it's on Zoom. And basically the business partnership folks will kind of play puppet master and organize the event so that we're kind of, in 1 minute or 90-second increments, we move around the room and talk to a whole bunch of people in a short period of time. As Rotarians, we can join and talk about how awesome our club is and what we do. and kind of use it as a membership or recruiting effort. So we would love for as many of you to turn out as possible. And I will find the link here while we're on our call and put it in the chat. Thank you very much.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And thanks for coordinating this on behalf of our club. I know I've signed up and I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I know Ron Ettinger had an announcement about our club dictionary project. Ron?
Good morning, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Yep.
Can do. Great. For those of you who don't know, Rotary has been involved with giving out dictionaries to fourth graders in schools throughout the country in many programs, including in Iowa City. This year, the whole thing was delayed because we weren't sure what was going on with the schools. But it's been decided that we are going to go ahead with the program. And I have contacted the school authorities, and we have been given the schools of Horn, Weber, Alexander, Kirkwood, and Wickham. And I have ordered the books and I have received them. There are nameplates that go in the books, and I have ordered those and received those. And I will, over this weekend, put it all together. But what I'm asking for is volunteers. And this year, we're not going to go into the, excuse me, classroom and distribute the books. We're simply going to ask you to contact the principal of the school and deliver the books to the school, and the teachers will distribute the books. So I gave my address and telephone number, and I think those are going up on the website. Is that right, Eric?
Yeah, we just put it in the chat and we'll have it in the after meeting message as well.
That would be great. And the idea is that you can come and collect if you contact me and let me know by email which school you'd like to be involved with. And then you can come and collect the books next week from my house. And the details will be in the notes that will be part of the meeting. So if you look on there, you will have my address and telephone number and email and all of that. They will all be ready to go. And all you have to do is put the nameplates in each book and then deliver the books after you call the principal of the school to inform them that the dictionaries are there for the fourth graders. And I thank you, all of you who have volunteered in the past and who want to help this year. Thank you very much. That's all, Eric.
Great. Yeah, Ron, thank you for helping to coordinate this project. And I know my two boys go to Kate Wickham Elementary, and we're excited to do that as a family project, put the stickers in and take them to the school. So encourage you, if you have kids or grandkids who go to any of these other schools, reach out to Ron to help with this process. Now I know Tricia Smith from the United Way had an announcement for us.
Thank you so much, Eric. And I just wanted to send out a reminder to everyone that you are all invited to attend our event, COVID-19 Vaccine in Johnson County. This is going to be a panel discussion with Suresh from University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics, as well as Sam Jarvis from Johnson County Public Health, addressing your questions about the vaccine in our community. You do need to register to submit your questions for the event. All questions will be taken ahead of the event. But we would love to have so many of you join to try and alleviate any concerns that you do have about the vaccine. And just as I'll follow suit as everyone else, I'll put all of the information as well as the link to register for the event. Again, it's March 11th from 11 to 12. And if for some reason you do have a conflict, but you still would like to get the information, please register, as we'll be sending out a recording after the meeting.
Great, thank you, Tricia. Any more announcements? Okay. Well, our new Rotary International incoming president, his primary goal is to increase membership. If we get more people, we can continue to do more work in our community and around the world. And today, it's exciting news. We are going to be inducting a new member into our Rotary Club, which is always a great day for us. So this Rotarian, or this future to be Rotarian, is sponsored by Ryan Bell. And I'd like to introduce Ryan to introduce our new Rotarian to us.
Yes, I'm happy to reintroduce a new Rotarian. So Jeffrey Dancer has been a member of our club and is coming back because he knows how awesome we are, how much we care about both our community and our world in general. And to hear and, just kind of talk with Jeffrey, his excitement for life in general is awesome and just kind of, resonates into any conversation he's having. But he's really a pillar of the community and somebody that we're lucky to have as part of our club. And he's gonna go on and be a great member and do some great things for us. So Jeffrey, you want to say hi to folks real quick?
Yes, thanks Ryan for those very kind words. I appreciate that very much. Jeff Dancer here, Iowa City, Iowa, and looking forward to being part of the Rotary Noon group again. Missed everybody, some familiar faces, some new faces I haven't seen before. So just looking forward to getting to know everyone again and being involved in the group, in the organization, and just doing as much as I can to help the membership and to move Rotary forward. So thank you, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Well, Jeffrey, we're so excited to have you back. And Jeffrey, you have been approved for membership in this club because we believe you to be a worthy representative of your vocation, interested in the ideals of Rotary, and willing to do your share in translating those ideals into action. Rotary is non-political, non-discriminatory, and non-denominational. Our impact starts with our members, people who work tirelessly with their clubs to solve some of the most difficult challenges in our communities. Our efforts are supported by Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation, which turns our donations into grants that fund the work of our members and partners both locally and around the globe. When you become a member in the Iowa City Noon Rotary Club, you will be joining over 1.2 million Rotarians around the world. Rotary International uses the term JET, J-E-T, to describe what we do so well: join leaders, exchange ideas, and take action. Your challenge as a new Rotarian is to get involved, join at least one committee, and bring guests and introduce them to Rotary. I now invite our members to provide a nice virtual round of applause for our newest member, Jeffrey Dancer. So please help me welcome him. Jeffrey, if we were in person, you would be getting a nice standing ovation, but this is the best we can do in these times. So welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to seeing you in person and seeing you get active in Rotary, and welcome back.
Thanks again.
Yep. So the next part of our meeting is one of our favorites. It's the Rotary moment of positivity and gratitude. And this week, our moment is going to come from Rotarian Demi Duresco. So Demi, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, President-elect Eric. And it's such a pleasure for me to present my moment of gratitude. At the end of each Rotary meeting, we cite our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We also know that our motto is service above self. So in the last 13 months, or even still going now, we have seen a lot of ways to show service or to even practice the four-way test. We've seen a lot of things going in our community. We see a lot of things going in our country and a lot going in the world. One thing that I remain certain, our Rotary Club, I would say, stand up to the challenge. I'm so grateful to be part of the Iowa City Noon Club. We were ready when the derecho happened in Cedar Rapids. We showed up really strongly in the supports of the immigrants that were suffering in Cedar Rapids. We really did everything we could to help them. I can tell you, my neighbors, they were saying, what's going on? in your house. We're seeing a lot of stuff because the Rotarians, they were delivering a lot of things at my house. And I made several trips to Cedar Rapids to deliver to those folks over there, to our brothers and sisters. I am so grateful. I'm also grateful to see what is going on in our community. At my church, we help a lot of the food banks here. There are a lot of people here in Iowa City that are struggling to navigate this crisis here. But this community really supports them. All the food banks, when I talk to them, each time I take delivery, because I'm also the president of the chair of the Social Justice Commission at our church, when we take delivery, when they keep telling me how our community comes strong to the support of our people, at the Catholic Worker House, everywhere, all of our food banks. I'm so grateful to be part of this community. I'm also grateful for my faith and family. Those of you that know me very well, you know that before COVID, I used to travel a lot. I used to travel all over the world. I used to be on the road all the time, you know, delivering programs, teaching, and all of that. I really never had the chance to spend time to my family. I guess, you know, it was a time that God has said, you know, this is time for all of us to slow down and start to appreciate what's going on in our family, what's going on in our life, how to grow our faith. The faith has grown, not only in myself, but also in my family. We are praying together more. We are, you know, I'm watching my kids understand what faith is, the power of God. It's amazing to see how they have grown stronger in the last 13 months in God. That's a blessing. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm also very grateful because I've seen a lot of acts of kindness in our community. This is something that I didn't think would happen, but with the pandemic, you've seen a lot of people showing kindness. They start to put themselves in people's shoes before jumping to conclusion. When you go to a store, you see someone not wearing a mask. Instead of criticizing that person, I've seen others, you know, trying to go back to their car, bringing masks to those people, or trying to understand why they are not doing it, et cetera, et cetera. But we watch on TV in other states, we've seen people fighting, you've seen people arguing with each other. But in this community, I don't think I've seen that. I've seen a lot of acts of kindness. I'm also grateful for that. We need to be kind with ourselves. This is a tough time. And sometimes we are too tough with ourselves. And that's why my last point is, I am grateful for myself. When this thing started, I didn't think I was going to be able to reinvent myself in this work from home world. I didn't think I was going to be able to, you know, go, you know, and survive staying and glue myself at home. I managed to do it. I developed new passion. I've started riding my bike, started exercising more, started taking control of a lot of the things that in the past were more difficult. I am grateful for myself. I want you to also take time to show kindness to yourself and to be grateful for yourself. Sometimes we tend to forget about ourselves while we are taking care of other people. President-elect Eric?
Great. Demi, thank you so much for sharing those inspirational words, and thank you for all the work you do, not just locally, but around the world on behalf of both Rotary and the University of Iowa. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I did notice in the chat button, Pete Wallace had mentioned that Rotarian Chuck Hesse has a birthday today. So Chuck, if you could just unmute yourself and wave real quick if you're still around with us. Maybe he's not, maybe he's here, but has the camera off. Here, okay. So Chuck, yeah, on behalf of our Rotary Club, we're not going to sing to you today, but happy birthday to you, and hopefully it's a great one.
It's the 85th.
85th, wow. Great, well, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Yep. Now we are on to the program portion of our meeting, and we have visiting Rotarian Brianna Hoffman is with the Downtown Iowa City Club, and Brianna is going to introduce our guest speaker to us today. Brianna.
Thank you, Eric. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Eric Johnson, who is a volunteer and co-leader of the Iowa City chapter of the Citizens Climate Lobby. And he's been with that group for 8 years. Eric grew up on a family farm near Fairfield, Iowa, and is a graduate of the University of Iowa with a degree in computer science. He works as a software engineer for Cornerstone On Demand, which is a global leader in software to train, manage, and develop employees. And he runs a small U-pick blueberry farm west of Iowa City with his wife and daughter, which I am personally very excited about. I can't wait till summertime because I'm there, Eric.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for that introduction. And also, as I was watching the meeting here, it occurred to me that my grandpa was a member of Rotary for a long time. He always talked about it, and I never knew what it was like until today, watching the meeting happen. And it was very humbling and inspiring to know that he was part of this organization for so long. So he was, I don't know if any of you would know him, but he was in the Fairfield chapter of Rotary from 1976 until the early 2000s. So it's an honor to speak here at an organization that meant so much to him too. So let me share my screen. I've got some slides. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Oh, you're muted, Eric. Other Eric, main Eric.
Yep. I think Kelly can help you out to give you access here to your presentation.
Oh, there we go. I'm good to go now,
great.
It looks like. Okay, sharing.
Yep, perfect.
Present. Oops, and get to the start. So first, Citizens Climate Lobby and climate change have a lot in common with Rotary. I heard this mentioned earlier in the call about the four-way test, and we have a comparison here talking about how climate change aligns closely with Rotary's core values. This is a little bit more about me, about Rotary, my connection to Rotary. So as Brianna mentioned, I grew up on a family farm near Fairfield. This is a aerial photo. I couldn't find an aerial photo of it during spring or summer, so I'm sorry to dredge up the winter memories here, but especially since there's still snow on the ground, it's kind of a painful picture to look at maybe here. But my connection to climate change is through farming. My dad passed away several years ago, and so I and my siblings helped my mom manage the land, and we were constantly dealing with erosion, building new terraces and tiling to manage water, extreme amounts of water. And my brother is interested in moving into agriculture, and so I want to preserve the family farm so that way he can take it over someday and continue farming. So I've got some personal skin in the game here. So for today, we're going to talk about what we know about climate change and who is our group and what actions can we take to work on climate change. So first, a quick poll. We'll see how this works. I haven't done this on Zoom before, so you can put this in the chat. 1, do you know anything about climate change? Have you just heard about it but don't really know that much? 3, you understand climate change pretty well, or 5, you really understand climate change? And let me get to the chat here. Looks like I'm seeing mostly 3s. That's good. Good, this chat's working. Some 2s, 3s. So we'll review quickly the basics of climate change here. So there's a scientific consensus that climate change is happening. It's caused by us and it's caused by greenhouse gases. And where's my next button? Oh, there we go. And those greenhouse gases are coming from fossil fuels. You can see here they've ramped up a lot lately, which is why we're kind of in dire straits and starting to actually experience the symptoms of climate change. So here's another quick poll. Which describes you the best? You can put a 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. 1, I haven't heard much about climate change, or I don't think it's much of a problem. 2, it's real and important, but I'm not doing much about it yet. 3, I've done some steps and they're mostly personal steps. Or 4, I actively work on national climate action.
A father in India.
Seeing mostly 3s again, I think. I should have put a, a break in the chat because it's blending together with the previous poll. So here's an illustration of what's actually going on with global warming, which leads to climate change. Normally the sunlight hits the earth and bounces off, but when we release extra CO2 into the atmosphere, it acts as a blanket and traps that heat from leaving the planet. And the main problem with CO2 is it doesn't break down. It just stays there for thousands of years. And it's not just the theory, like the theory of global warming has been around since, I think, the 1920s, but now we're getting real data that this is happening in our world right now. The last 19 warmest years have occurred over the past 20, and the 5 warmest ones have been in the past 5. So it's happening now. We're seeing changes in our temperatures. And that's going to lead to not just warmer weather, which if it was just warmer weather, that might be fine. That might be really nice, actually, considering the winter we just had, especially if you happen to live in Texas. But we're going to see more record-setting temperatures, more extreme weather events, more droughts, and increasing ocean temperatures. And this graph shows, like, it's not just that we're seeing increased temperatures. This is the number of extreme weather events that we've seen from 1980 up to, well, in this part, it's to 1995. So here you can see it's around 250 in 1980. And then by 1995, we're up to 500. So it doubled in that amount of time. And if we hit this next button, we can see that we're currently, this is as of 2016. So this is a little outdated at this point, but we're on up to 750 extreme weather events. So we're not on a good trajectory here if we want to have a stable place to live. Oops, and there's a problem with that. Okay. So for Iowa, that means we're going to get hotter days, which means more energy usage. It's going to get more costly to live in Iowa during the summer just for air conditioning. But also, like, that's harder on people. People die from overheating. And maybe not more importantly, but equally importantly for Iowa, like, corn yields are going to go down. There's a wide variety and range, but by 2050, the worst case prediction is 31% decrease in corn yields. And farmers are already, like, barely able to turn profits. Some years they go in the red. So this is the last kind of thing they need, is a drag on one of their most profitable crops. The other thing is we don't have that long to act. The International Panel on Climate Change says we have 10 years to cut global emissions by 50%, which is pretty quick time frame to turn things around. So we got another quick poll here. So put a 1 if this is mostly new information, or a 2 if you've heard most of this before. Most of this before. There's a few 1s, 2s. Okay, great. So here's a question, and it sounds like this question kind of aligns with my sense of what Rotary is. What's the story that I tell myself that keeps me from fully engaging around climate change? And you can think to yourself, in one sentence, I would take action on climate change, but I don't know what to do. I would take action on climate change, but I have 4 kids and I have zero time and zero sanity. I have a 4-year-old daughter, so I have 1 kid and it's already a challenge with 1. So if you have multiple kids, yeah. But yeah, you should evaluate what is the reason that you haven't taken action on climate change. So there's 2 kinds of situations, like a wait and see versus a let's get going. And I think a lot of people are still in the wait and see kind of camp. And as we're getting these extreme weather events, and as the clock is kind of ticking down before we need to take action to stop really bad climate change, more and more people are moving to the let's get going kind of camp. And that's where our group really can come in and help. So Citizens Climate Lobby, it helps educate its members and just the general public. It gives a path to success. It's not just like we need to take action on climate change like some of the other climate groups out there. It's like, here's a very specific legislation that will get us there fast. Citizens Climate Lobby also gives you plenty of action opportunities in a variety of different mediums, from meeting with members of Congress to writing letters to the editor to public speaking like I'm doing here today, or just chapter growth, growing the chapter so there's more volunteers ready to contact members of Congress and turn up the volume. So what makes a good climate solution? Well, it needs to act quickly. It needs to use incentives that support choice. It needs to be fair and sticky and healthy for the planet and healthy for our economy. And this may sound like a fairy tale solution, but there are policies out there that meet these criteria. The one that our group champions is called a carbon fee and dividend policy. And this is distinct from a carbon tax in that a tax is when the government collects money from the people and then uses it to pay for things that the government wants to do. All this is trying to do is correct a pricing error, because right now it's free for fossil fuel companies to burn and us to burn fossil fuels. So what this is doing is saying, no, it actually costs the economy and the planet money every time we burn fossil fuels. So we're going to reflect that cost, but we're not going to allow this increased cost to impact everyday citizens. We're going to take the money from fossil fuel companies and pass it on directly, 100% of it, to American households in the form of monthly checks or direct deposits. And so this is not just a pie in the eye. I'm messing up that phrase, but this is not just an idea that's being discussed. This is actual legislation that's been introduced in the past 2 Congresses, and it's garnered quite a bit of support. So this is the most popular one. Also, I should say there's like 4 other versions of this bill where some of the other versions of the bill that our group doesn't support, instead of being 100% revenue neutral, they take some of the money and use it for government programs. But our group advocates just 100% revenue neutral, don't do any new government programs. So here you can see that the vast majority of the on the record co-sponsors are Democrats. There's one Republican, Representative Rooney in here, who helped introduce the bill. But this bill was crafted with strong collaboration with Republicans behind closed doors. And another important thing to know about is there are 2 other prominent conservative groups. One is called Students for Carbon Dividends, and the other is called the Climate Leadership Council. And both of these are national organizations that propose legislation very similar to the legislation that our group is supporting. And actually, now that I'm saying that, in January, the US Chamber of Commerce came out and advocated for a sort of a revenue neutral kind of price on carbon like this. And I just heard that even the American Petroleum Institute has come out in favor of it, because it's become clear it's going to be regulations or some sort of national price on carbon. And a national price on carbon is much more market friendly and allows innovation and allows entrepreneurs and businesses to innovate around the solution instead of the government telling them how to solve things. So the benefits are that this works, it's good for people, it's good for the economy, it's bipartisan, and it doesn't grow the size of government, it's revenue neutral. So first of all, there's been several studies done by various economists that show that this is going to be effective for reducing carbon emissions, 40% over the 12 years, which is really close to what the IPCC says we need to do. It's not all the way. This is not a silver bullet solution. This is a big first step that will really set us on the right track. It's good for families. Like, you get a monthly check, and by year 10 of this, so it starts low and then ramps up in a predictable fashion. So that way businesses can plan for it and adapt over time. But by year 10, families are getting a check of $4,000 annually. I mean, it'll be coming to them in monthly checks, but $4,400 a year. And currently today, people are losing their lives just from burning fossil fuels. Like, the air pollution kills people directly. So we'll save almost 300,000 lives because of better air quality. And this is good for the economy. The putting a price on fossil fuels will help speed our transition to renewables, which will create a lot more jobs, a lot more people to install wind turbines and solar panels, and just retrofit buildings to make them more energy efficient, and whatever else new innovations come from having this new incentive in the marketplace. And just bipartisan. It sounds like this is really one of Rotary's core values too, is that working together for the common good. And this is really people coming together to solve a big problem in a way that's transparent and fair and and gets the job done. And here's another slide about the revenue neutral part of it, where the government just collects the money and then immediately returns it all. So there's some prominent people who have given statements of support for this. The person I'd like to highlight on here, who's maybe closest to Rotary, is George Shultz, who was the former Secretary of State for Ronald Reagan. And then on the next slide, I've got, and there's local endorsers too for this. The Iowa City Council has endorsed it. The Johnson County Board of Supervisors, Iowa Audubon has endorsed it. And it's not on their website right now, but the Press Citizen has endorsed it in the past, and I think they have endorsed it again here recently. So our group works on building this political will to take action. Also, quick time check. How much more time do I have left, Eric? I want to make sure I don't run over.
Yeah, Eric, you are good with time. We can certainly go another good 10 minutes and then take some questions as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this leads us to, what is your action plan? Will you continue to act locally and just share what you know about climate change, or will you actively advocate for a national policy for climate change? If you'd like to learn more about Citizens Climate Lobby, they have a weekly intro call where it's more information like what I presented here, but goes into more details. And then there's a long Q&A session there. So that's a good place to get started and learn more. The website, energyinnovationact.org. I'll jump over to it real quick, maybe. If I can, Oops. So they have a website with the actual bill is here, HR 763, and the Senate bill. So you can actually read the text of the bill and see more endorsers there. Another way that you can individually get involved is something that Citizens Climate Lobby has, which is called the monthly calling campaign. And you sign up at the link below. And what happens is you get a text message or an email once a month that takes you to the Citizens Climate Lobby website with a script for your US senators and US members of the House. So for us, it's Representative Miller Meeks and Senator Grassley and Senator Ernst. And there's a script there with what to say, saying, I would like you to take some action on climate change, and in light of this recent event, it's pressing, and then here's a specific thing that they could do, like depending on their role in Congress. It's really short, and you can even do it after hours. You don't have to call during your workday. Or for me, I used to be intimidated by calling and talking to actual real people, because to me, it's like, the heart of our democracy. So it's a little intimidating to interact directly with it. So you can call after hours and leave a message. So that's totally a way you can participate too. And this makes it just automatic and something that just takes 5 minutes per month. Another idea that Citizens Climate Lobby has is you can sign up to donate monthly, and they'll match it. So that way they can help Citizens Climate Lobby spread their message more. And this is something that I think Rotary, you could consider taking up as the Iowa City chapter. There's endorsers of the bill. And there is one other Rotary chapter here of Utah, but you can see here there's lots and lots and lots of businesses have endorsed it. And you can peruse here and see the other sort of entities and individuals that have endorsed here. But this is something that you could consider doing. There's a form on the website, and I can help walk you through the process too, if that's something that sounds like would be something your chapter would be interested in. Oops, let's see. How do I get back to Zoom now? I lost Zoom. I will stop screen sharing. Maybe that will get me back. And I will screen share again. Oh, you know what I did? I forgot that my presentation was just in a browser tab. Let's see. So our organization doesn't just meet with members of Congress. We also write letters to the editor. We do grassroots outreach like this here today, or tabling before the pandemic. We'll pick that up again once we are able to again. Going to like public events and having an information table and asking people about climate change. We also meet with businesses to see if they'd be willing to endorse. And we also work on growing the size of our group. So Citizens Climate Lobby is not as big as Rotary by any means, but we're not that small either. We have, and I think these numbers are outdated. I think last I heard we were over 200,000 people, and chapters in every state, I think, in almost every congressional district. We have a national conference every year where we used to fly to DC and set up meetings with every single member of Congress on a special lobby day. And I went to that, and that's a very powerful experience. If anyone's looking for that kind of direct interaction with your elected officials, it's really kind of a life-changing kind of event, or very meaningful kind of event to do. Here's some information about our grassroots outreach. We do farmers markets, film screenings, climate meetups. We get endorsements from Grass Tops, which are businesses and mayors and other leaders in the communities. We write lots of letters to the editor, lots of op-eds. We have a monthly column, monthly op-ed with the Press Citizen here, but we also publish in other papers around the country. One of our best letter writers got an op-ed, or maybe it was technically a shorter letter to the editor in the New York Times. So sometimes we get big publications like that. So today, let's reflect on, what did you learn that's important or energizing? What did you hear today that resonated with you, that got you excited about climate change, or that connected with you? And then what actions will you take? And finally, what questions do you have about next steps, or about the presentation today, or anything like that?
Great. Eric, I want to thank you so much for the program today. I think all of us are in agreement that as a person, we want to leave the planet better than we find it. And obviously this impact doesn't just impact us, it impacts our children, our grandchildren, and future generations. So thank you for doing this important work. And we have time for questions. So if any of our Rotarians have a question, if you could please click raise hand and we'll call on you.
I see one in the chat. Could I go ahead and respond to that one?
Yep, go right in.
Oh, it's a direct message. Well, I'll raise it anyway, because how come it changed from global warming to climate change? I'm not sure exactly when that changed, but my sense is that global warming didn't really convey what was the problem. Like global warming sounds nice because like winters are cold and that's not fun. But the problem with global warming is that it leads to changes in the weather, the climate, and that's a big deal because we built our infrastructure with certain assumptions in place. Like we've assumed that certain weather patterns are going to always be in certain regions. And we saw that happen with Texas. I mean, I'm not saying that we can say that climate change caused Texas to freeze over, but that's an example of what we're going to see more of, is like infrastructure that can't handle new weather conditions.
I see Ryan Bell has a question. Ryan?
Yeah, and maybe just more of a statement, but in 2020, protecting the environment became an official cause of Rotary International. And so what that does is kind of open up grant programs and things like that we can use to, help with projects in and around this specific, effort. So maybe this isn't the last time we work together or hear from each other, but I'm very excited about that and look forward to, I just signed up on your website to become a member of the lobby. So
wow,
thanks for your time.
And I should tell you, well, so that will enroll you in their bi-weekly emails. I think they send an email once every week or 2 weeks that summarizes where they're at with climate change and any related climate news. Like that's where I learned about the American Petroleum Institute endorsing a national price on carbon. So you'll get those kind of updates. And then there's more down in the email. There's more information on how to take actions or how to connect with your local chapter, that kind of stuff.
Great. Dan Kinsey had a question. Dan?
Thanks, Eric. My question, and maybe I just didn't follow the presentation for the dividend.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm still struggling with that. How to understand your pricing carbon and you're giving it back. So wouldn't that be like incentivizing like the use? Is that I guess I'm confused.
No, and I probably breezed past that too fast. And I remember when I first joined this group, I couldn't wrap my head around it for a long time either, all the details like that. But so the thought, the idea is that if fossil fuels companies are paying this fee, then they'll pass their costs on to who's buying from them, and that cost will end up at the consumer. And so if the consumers are receiving a check, that money that was taken from the fossil fuel companies, and it's given to consumers, then the consumers won't feel the pain. And the economists have studied it and found that most Americans will actually come out ahead. They'll get more money than they'll lose, than they'll be faced with, like their prices will go up like this much, and they'll get more dividends more than they need to offset it. So this is actually a progressive kind of program too. And then there'll be an incentive, like if you're a business and you can figure out how to produce your good or service in a way that doesn't incur this increased fee, like you don't have to use as much energy from fossil fuels or as much products that are intensively produced with fossil fuels, then you'll be able to charge less and have a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Does that answer your question or help?
I think that I'll need to do a little bit more research on it, because I guess I'm still confused on how, where you're adding this fee to oil producers or carbon producers, coal, whatever,
mm-hmm.
and they're taking that fee and passing it along to consumers. But then where I'm still on the incentive on moving towards more renewable energies, or how that kind of connects. And I might not be very smart, which possible. So,
no,
I could
it's
just
hard
be
to
that
wrap.
too.
our minds around. But that reminds me of another facet of this, which is that it's also, there's a border adjustment to make US companies not at a disadvantage with countries that aren't pricing fossil fuels. So they've accounted for that as well. But I will look for a link that can help explain the pricing. And I would expect an area of either our website, Citizens Climate Lobby website, or the Energy Innovation Act's website. Let me put both those links in our chat here.
Awesome.
To be able
Yeah, I love the revenue neutral. That's a big thing. So good stuff. This is definitely one of those solutions that seems like we're coming from multiple facets, which I definitely like. So good job.
Good, thank you.
Yep, and Eric, one final question for you. Our Rotarian Tita Kaufman asked in the chat, could you expand on the perils of ocean warming as it relates to climate change? There was a very interesting article on the New York Times yesterday that addressed changes in the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, up front, I'm not well versed in all the problems with ocean heating, but from my understanding, it's causing, the ocean is doing the bulk of the absorbing of the heat that we've trapped so far. And so its environment is changing a lot more than ours already. And that's ending up causing problems with coral reefs, especially like countries like Australia that depend on them for protection and for habitat for their fisheries. That's going to be major challenges for them. But also just increasing the ocean temperature is going to lead to more melting and rising seas, which we're seeing in Florida. One of the first people to come on board and endorse this bill was a representative from Florida, where they were starting to get flooding in the streets in the middle of the sunny days just because the ocean is getting higher. So those are the things I can think of off the top of my head.
Great. Well, Eric, thank you so much on behalf of Rotary for the information you shared and the great program today. Our Rotary Club is going to make a donation in your honor to the Rotary International Polio Plus program. Eradicating polio has been an initiative of Rotary for the last 40 years. So we'll make a donation in your honor to the Polio Plus program. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation will match our donation 2-to-1, and this will lead to 70 polio vaccinations around the world in your honor. So thank you again for coming today.
Well, thank you. That's quite a surprise. Thank you for that.
So yes. And I have a few final reminders for everyone. And as I say these, if Kelly could share the screen for the 4-way test. I just want to remind everyone, as we mentioned earlier, Dick McKean is not doing well. Please keep Dick and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Special shout out to Chuck Hesse. Chuck is 85 years young today. So happy birthday, Chuck. And finally, welcome to Jeffrey Dancer. Jeffrey, we're excited to welcome you back to our Rotary Club. So with that, we always like to conclude our meetings with the Rotary 4-way test. And I know everyone has it memorized, but just in case, Kelly's going to put it up on the screen for us. So Kelly, if you could. Okay, everyone ready? The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it
First,
the truth?
is it the truth?
Is it
Is
fair
it fair
to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Great. Well, thanks again for joining us. I hope everyone gets outside this weekend. It's supposed to be 60 degrees on Sunday, and we'll see you guys at the same time next Thursday. So thanks, everybody.
Great job, Eric.
Yep, thanks, Kelly. Barb has a helpful cheat sheet to follow, so.
Always helpful, yes.
Yep. Have a good weekend, Kelly. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye. Thank you
Thanks,
again.
Eric.
Yep. Thanks, Eric. Great job.